Yes, tutorial levels. You know, they're supposed to be calm, safe, intuitive, a nice little place where the player learns how to move, jump, and pretty much understand the game. So naturally, I added 2 boss fights to mine. Even with it being a tutorial, it ended up working. Which is why I'm going to use this devlog to show you how I designed the tutorial level for Eclipseless, my Unity metroidvania. I'll show you the full process of how I learned to teach the whole mechanics of the game in a single level without turning everything into a school presentation. As I was making Eclipseless, I just knew it needed a tutorial level. And I thought it would be easy. I mean, you just jump, you just run. It's a metroidvania, it doesn't have that many mechanics, it just has a few, you know? Like jumping, attacking, huh? What is that? You know, a few simple mechanics, nothing much, you know. Oh god, kill me. How could I teach that many mechanics in just a small level? Simple answer. I had no idea. But a simple thing hit me. Each room needed to teach one idea. Not 5, not 12, 1. Maybe 3. You get. At the start of the game, I wanted a little drama, so I made the player fall into the cave. This was partly inspired by the beginning of Hollow Knight, where the knight falls into the world as soon as the game begins. But I wanted to use that moment for gameplay too. So after the fall, the player is hurt, lying on the ground, and can't continue until they heal. I figured it was a good idea to teach the healing mechanic in this way, so I just put the healing input right above the player's head. You know, instead of putting a text, it's just faster. Then the player presses it, they heal, and they stand up. After that you get the icons for moving around, then you get a graffiti for jumping. And on your left you will notice a door that needs light to open. So, just in the first room, the player learns 4 things: healing, movement, jumping, and that somehow you need to restore light in just one simple room without any difficulty whatsoever. And it comes out so natural that it doesn't feel like homework. So I use this as a main rule for the whole tutorial level. Every room needs to teach the player something, and every lesson needs to feel like play. Once I understood that, the level became way easier to design. I could introduce enemies little by little, the cutscenes, then restoring light, then new routes, then the possession mechanics. And instead of making a tutorial level that says, here are the rules, I could make a level that says, here's a weird cave, try surviving it. It's like going skiing and putting your foot on the skis, and instead of going with an instructor, just go down the mountain and hit yourself in the head a few times and then learning. You know, that's probably not a good example. One of the most important mechanics in Eclipseless is possession. The player can possess animals, use their abilities, unlock new paths, and approach combat differently. So for the tutorial, I needed a first possession, the monkey. A completely original character design that is definitely not inspired by Dragon Ball in any way. The monkey changes the way the player moves. The rabbit has a short range slash attack, and more grounded movement. But the monkey, he can climb vines and attack from longer range by throwing bananas. This gives the player a very different rhythm, almost immediately. Rabbit, close range, direct combat. Monkey, distance, movement, vines. And since the mechanics are designed around a game loop, they are mainly interconnected. So teaching one thing often teaches 2 or more things at the same time. When the player gets the monkey, he will notice that his skill tree changes, so now he knows that every animal has more than one skill tree. He also learns that combat and exploration changes. Another example, when you restore light to the level, you notice that you can use a skill tree and that you get light points. And you just learned all of that by just doing one simple action, because everything is interconnected. It's also natural that the tutorial stopped feeling like a checklist. It started feeling like I was making a real level. It was fun. And it was going fine. I had a pretty solid tutorial. But then something normal happened in my mind. You know, what if to unlock the monkey, you had to defeat a boss? You know, a normal boss, like a monkey ballet dancer who transforms into a giant gorilla. Normal. Game development is a serious art form. And you know, before he becomes a gorilla, you just meet the monkey dancer and you learn a little bit about him, with a small cutscene. He wants to be a ballet dancer, but his dream is destroying his life. He's becoming addicted to potassium-free bananas, which seem to just be potatoes. And this is how my body looks. As you can see, it's just a regular monkey but with a ballet dress. And instead of a walking animation, I just made him spin, you know, like this. But you gotta get him in the front view for him to spin. Oh my god, that's ugly. It takes me back to Peppa Pig all over again. Cartoon characters are not made to face the front. Anyways, instead of a walking animation, I just made a spinny boy. And honestly, I think that's better. And of course, as many of you would have probably guessed, after you defeat the gorilla boss, the monkey ballet dancer turns over a new leaf and wants to work now at Monkey Resources. But with all the stupidity aside, this boss fight isn't just there to be funny. The gorilla is designed to preview the monkey's abilities. He climbs vines, he throws bananas, he also stomps the ground, but that has nothing to do with anything. But if you notice, he does the same things as the monkey position. So before the player gets the position, they first fight against it. That way, when they finally unlock the monkey, it feels earned. And also, they already know how to use it. That's when I learned something important. A tutorial doesn't have to be easy all the time, it just has to be fair. If the player understands what happened, why they failed, and what they should try next, then a challenge can be part of the teaching. The gorilla boss gives the player adrenaline early, but it also shows the game's language. Watch the pattern, react, find an opening, use the mechanic. That's way better than just telling the player, "Here, monkey, climb, banana, woo, 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 woo." Please enjoy Monkey responsibly. I also wanted to give the game more identity. In my last video, I got a comment from the user ITHTM1, who told me a lot of nice things about the game, which I'm very thankful for. But for the sake of the video, I will just cover one small part. They mentioned that the game had personality, but needed a stronger direction, more backstory, motivation, and recurring characters. And you know, they were right, so I started working on a character who would travel with the player through the journey. Meet Apfel. Apfel is another rabbit, German for apple. He's a kid, he's innocent, curious, and reacts to the strange things happening around him. He also believes he's a ghost, because no one can see him except you. His body is trapped somewhere deeper in the cave, and he asks to come with you so he can get it back. So Apfel becomes a recurring companion, a little bit like Navi from Zelda. He can guide the player, remind them what to do, react to characters, and add a more human feeling to the world. And there's also a bigger mystery. Rabbits are not supposed to be from this cave. So if Apfel is here, how did he get here? So now the tutorial level have movement, healing, combat, possession, light restoration, a skill tree, story, mystery, a boss fight. So obviously we were done, right? No! Another boss fight! Because here at Penguinshell we value that the user gets pissed off right at the beginning of the game. So this second boss is basically the final exam of the tutorial. The player has already learned the rabbit, they have already learned the monkey, they have already learned vines, close range attacks, long range attacks, and switching between playstyles. So this fight asks one question: can you actually combine them? The boss has two main dynamics. First, a ground attack that asks the player to dodge, stay close, and use the rabbit's short range attack. Then, the fight changes. I just removed the whole floor because friendship. Now the player has to use the monkey, climb vines, avoid attacks, and fight from a longer distance. So the boss forces the player to alternate between rabbit and monkey. It isn't just a hard enemy, it's a test of everything the tutorial has been building. And his identity? You know, I thought it over and over and over to get a very deep lore, something very meaningful, and I think I got the most brilliant idea. Weeb frog. Yeah, that's it. Simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. So, should every tutorial level have 2 boss fights? No. Please don't use this video as legal evidence if your players get angry. But in all seriousness, I do think tutorial levels can be way more exciting than what we usually make. The important thing is that every challenge must teach something. If the player fails, they should understand why. If they win, they should feel like they learned a new skill. And if the level is doing its job, the player should just leave thinking, I know how this game works and I want to keep going. So this is the current tutorial level. It teaches the basics, introduces the first possession, adds Apfel, shows the light system, and ends with a boss that tests everything that the player learned. There is still a lot to polish, but for the first time, the opening of the game feels like it has a real purpose. So if you want to see how Eclipseless got here, you can watch the previous devlog where I talk about the game loop that changed the whole project. And if you want to follow the next part of development, consider subscribing. Next time I'll probably be working on combat, level design, or maybe show the new ice level that I'm making. So subscribe, take care, and happy Halloween, I guess?